Ba bum 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 ba bum 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 ba bum bum ba 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 bum ba bum ba bum bum ba 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 bum bum. King of the road. Well, hello there, everyone. Getting started a few minutes early today. Nice, relaxing day for me. No big stress moments, no nothing. Getting ready to jump back into my capitalist weekend before returning back to the real world. JSU 1776. I don't know if I've ever seen you here before, bud. Good to see you. You've popped in just to be like thoughts on the Trump verdict. It's going to be a fine. Like, it's not going to result in anything. It's just the bottom line on it is he's going to get fined, and the Democrats are going to use it as a talking point, and Donald Trump is going to be like, the whole thing plays into Trump's narrative, right? I'm here to fight the deep state, draining the swamp, and they pushed back against me, stole the election, and now I'm here again. And with your help, and we've seen how disastrous the Biden administration has been, and we've seen all of this, and with your help, we'll overthrow these Democrats, and then we'll continue fighting the deep state that has used its illegitimate apparatus against us. So let us pass a bunch of legislation that's essentially fascist, right? Like, I understand why the Democrats are doing what they're doing, because they're dim-witted, but it's backfiring, and it's going to backfire. Trump's going to pay a fine, right? He's not going to go to jail, right? They'll never put a capitalist in jail, right? They just want it made clear that we're really going to make you go through the muck if you try to stand up to us. But it completely plays into Trump's overarching narrative, and it will be a justification for Trump's actions once he wins the next election, which incidentally is highly likely, right? Like, it's actually extremely likely he will win the next election. He lost his election against Biden by 12,000 votes in Georgia. It was an extremely tight election. If 12,000 people had have gone the other direction, or if like 6,000 people had have stayed home and another 6,000 had have swung over to Trump, right? Like literally a small town in the Midwest, if it had been Trump instead of Biden, Trump would have won the second time, which I actually think would have been better for America. Just get Trump out of the system. Just get him out of here, right? Like, let's get Trump gone, and then his sons can try to take a kick at the can and all that, which incidentally his sons are going to take a kick at the can eventually. And like, so the whole situation is going to work in Trump's favor ultimately. And the only thing to pay attention to, like, I don't really get into electoral politics too much because I think that the Democrats and Republicans are allies. They work together. But the ultimate reality, I should bring up the article. I have it. Oh no, this is a different article. Do I have it? Did I even think to do it? Nah, forget it. That's fine. The yeah, I don't think I could even bring myself to vote at all this November. Why? Like, why? You're voting for a capitalist, right? Vote for blue capitalist, vote for red capitalist, vote for the destruction of your civilization. What color do you want? And so this whole situation plays into Trump's narrative, and the entire election gets decided by 5 states, right? There are 5 swing states that really actually matter in these elections. They're like, oh, do I know them offhand? It's like Nevada, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, I think. I can't remember the 5 states offhand. But there's 5 or 6 states that are actually important in the election, right? All the other states have basically already made up their mind. They're already Republican, they're already Democrat. There's a very small select group of states that can swing either way and do, right? Well, Trump's leading in those states. He's leading handily in those states. It's not close. Like maybe in one of them he's winning by like 1% or something, but some of the states he's winning by like 7%, 8%. Like that's a landslide victory in American politics. So like Trump is going to win this election. I don't know who's standing around thinking that Biden is actually going to pull this one out and that Biden's going to win this thing, right? Like I just don't act like I know good people who think Biden is going to win. I just don't think it's a credible position to hold any longer. Like all of the evidence and all of the stats and all of the polling and everything you could possibly want to see show that Trump wins this thing. And this is before the election even starts. Once the election starts, Trump's just going to start dunking on these guys. He's just going to start dunking on these guys. And it's going to and his narrative is going to take hold. Right? Trump's a better storyteller than these guys. And he's just going to win this thing, man. So get ready for Trump 2.0. I think Trump 2.0 is going to be way worse than Trump 1.0, right? Trump 1.0 was like, yeah, thank you, Long Defiant. I appreciate that. Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania. I was right. Haha. North Carolina, Nevada. Haha. I got another one in Wisconsin. Haha. Yeah. Those are the ones. And Trump leads in all of them, right? I have a theory that Biden's sabotaging himself deliberately. You got to remember, I encounter this a lot in this conversation, so I'm trying to be really nice when I say these things, and I'm still kind of triggered from yesterday's like Uyghur genocide moron. It's still in my head. The way that the capitalists and the way that their politicians think about things are not how we think about things, right? Biden doesn't care if he is no longer the president. Like, Justin Trudeau doesn't care if he stops being the prime minister. Like, they don't actually care. It's a vanity project. It was like, oh boy, I get to be the president, yuckles. Like, they don't actually have... All of the rhetoric that they say is fake. It's false. It's just rhetoric. They don't actually hold these opinions. Biden knows full well that when he no longer is the president, he'll go off and be on some board of directors somewhere or something, right? Justin Trudeau is going to go work for oil companies, right? Like this is how this is actually going to go. So they don't actually care, right? They don't actually care, and. Like, Trump cares about being the president. He cared about being the president in the first place because I want to be the president, right? It's a vanity project. And now he cares about being the president. And this next presidency is going to be way different than his first presidency because now there's two different things that are going on. First of all, Trump's got a vendetta now. This time it's personal. Like, the first time he was like, sweet, I get to be the president, golf, pass some legislation. Sure. Cut taxes for myself and my buddies. Great. Right? This time around, no, he's on a vengeance tour. Right? And petty vengeance tour, no less. So it's just going to be a vengeance tour for 4 years. And then on top of that, that was one. Two, the first time he was in office, he was essentially alone. He just became the president and literally nobody believed that he would be the president, including himself. This time around, he has allies. He has a strong coalition around him. AZ, good to see you over on Twitch. Incidentally, for some good news for me, I am now a Twitch affiliate. So I get money now from Twitch. I don't understand how any of it works. There's like subscriptions and like bits and stuff like that. I don't know how any of that works. So... But there's ads, and I'm going to make money on Twitch. Hey, look at me. I'm going to get rich. I'm going to get rich. Yay. So, yeah, Trump has allies now. Right? Trump has allies now, and those allies are going to, are fascists, right? Like, Trump himself is likely not a fascist because Trump doesn't have any principles. Like, Trump is just completely self-interested. He has no principles. But the people who are around him now, like the Heritage Foundation, right? A lot of these Congress people, they're explicitly fascists, theocratic fascists, many of them. So yeah, Trump is just like Eric Cartman. That's a good analogy, right? Like he's just a selfish person that wants stuff for himself, and that's it. He has no ideology, but he's more than happy to empower fascists if it means that he gets his way. So I canceled my Amazon Prime just last month. I can't subscribe to Twitch for free anymore. How could this happen to me? I made my mistakes. All right. Speaking of things that are funny, or actually, this is not funny. We're gonna get it. So this, look, today we're gonna go through some articles that are really going to be illustrative. Today's stream, if I had to put a cap on it, and if I had to give it a title, it's going to be illustrative. Or illustrative. Illustrative? Doesn't matter. Today, we're going to show you some articles that really reveal how dense and pathetic the empire has gotten and how much of a panic they're actually in. It's going to be like, as we decline, the empire is going to do everything it can to project an image of credibility, but it no longer has credibility because of the genocides, because of the wars, because of its failure to address domestic issues, because of its failures to act rationally or use evidence in its thinking. It's no longer actually capable of projecting an image of credibility. And so when it tries to project an image of credibility, it comes off as very desperate and pathetic and weak. And so we've got a couple of articles that we're going to get into that really show that's the case. Before we do that, let's just touch on a little bit of good news. This is from Express. Diabetes breakthrough as scientists hail miracle cure in world first. Chinese scientists have claimed they have found a cure for diabetes, a condition that affects more than 4 million people in the UK. Diabetes is a serious and life-altering condition that causes your blood sugar levels to become too high. According to the World Health Organization, it is the 9th leading cause of death worldwide. There are 2 types of diabetes, type 1 and 2. While it is not known exactly what causes type 1, type 2 is typically linked to being overweight or obese or not exercising enough. While there are steps you can take to manage or even put diabetes in remission, there's no known cure. Until now. Scientists in China say they have cured diabetes for the first time. According to a report published in Cell Discovery Journal, cell transplantation could be the answer in the fight against diabetes. The patient, a 59-year-old man, received the innovative transplant in 2021 and has been medication-free since 2022. As part of the treatment, scientists created an artificial version of cells found in the pancreas that produces insulin and keeps blood sugar levels in check. The patient had suffered from type 2 diabetes for 25 years and had lost almost all function of these cells, known as islets, according to the report. Medical staff had also deemed him to be at high risk for deadly complications, and he needed multiple insulin injections every day to stop him from going into a diabetic coma. Prior to this, the only way to naturally regulate blood sugar levels was to overhaul the patient's lifestyle, usually requiring a strict diet and exercise routine. But using this method, scientists were able to turn stem cells, which can act as a blank slate cell, into pancreas cells. These cells produce insulin, which tells your body when to take sugar from the food we eat. In diabetics, the pancreas doesn't produce enough insulin to regulate blood sugar, leading to issues such as nerve damage, kidney damage, heart disease, and more. Researchers found that implanting the new, lab-grown pancreas cells meant the patient could once again produce their own insulin. The findings were the results of decades of research across many countries into how to best turn stem cells into islet cells and how to get those islet cells into the body. As reported by the South China Morning Post, one of the lead researchers, Dr. Yin Hao, said, "Our technology has matured, and it pushed boundaries in the field of regenerative medicine for the treatment of diabetes." However, there is a chance this method may only work with patients with type 2 diabetes, This is because there's a chance the immune system in patients with type 1 diabetes might reject the new implanted cells. It is planned the therapy will be tested in more patients. The study was a collaboration between 3 institutions based in Shanghai: the Shanghai Changzhen Hospital, the Center for Excellence in Molecular Cell Science under the Chinese Academy of Scientists, and Renji Hospital. There's your capitalist innovation right there. Right? It's the capitalists that are innovating, right? Right? Yeah, this is good. Now, will it be made accessible to all who need it? Of course not. Of course not. Capitalists will get hold of it, and they'll be like, oh, this is a cure, right? So this will cost $1 million a pill, even though it costs 30 cents to make, right? Yeah, please don't let pharma get a patent monopoly on it and ruin it for everyone. Of course they will. That's what they'll try to do anyway, right? That's what they'll try to do. What's likely, right, is that across China into India and you know the Asian countries, the Asiatic countries, and into Russia, it'll be like, you know, $1 for a pill, and like many of these places, like Russia has a universal healthcare system, so you'll just be able to get it, right? Well, in the United States, it'll be like $500 a treatment, right? That's exactly what's going to happen. And we know that's going to happen. So this is the beginning of another illustration of the failure of the capitalist model, right? It's not the capitalists that are coming through with this cure, right? It's not capitalism that's doing this cure. It's a collaboration between 3 non-capitalist organizations using government funding in order to do this cure. Why? Because they thought to themselves, you know what we should try to do? Cure diabetes. Maybe we should actually try to cure diseases, right? Like, it's like Chris Rock said, like, capitalists are not interested in curing anything. They're not interested in curing anything, right? They want to treat you. They want it to be a treatment until you die. They're not interested in you being cured of it. Rational countries don't think that way, and so they've created this cure. And so now the distribution of it. So already this is illustrative, right? It's not capitalists that are doing this. But now when it comes time to actually distribute, we're going to get articles soon, right? A year from now, we're going to see articles that are going to be like, yep, diabetes cure, $2,000 in the United States, right? And $10,000. Like, it's going to be absurd. You want to get, hey, that's a tough case of diabetes you got there. Well, I could cure it for you, but you got to become my slave. Like, that's the capitalist mindset. So, but I do want to start with good news. There are people in the world, not in the Western world, obviously, but there are people in the world who are actually trying to make people's lives better, right? Those people, of course, live in China. So, speaking of China, here is a extremely hysterical article that comes from The Hill, right? No joke, when I took a look at this, I immediately was like, oh, we've actually lost our mind. Like, we're actually in hysteria right now. Like, the mass hysteria is gripping us. The xenophobia is taking over. We're losing the ability to think rationally, if we ever had the ability to think rationally at all. And I think the thing that's actually scariest about these sorts of articles and about this kind of stuff that we're starting to see is that it's clear that we're not really even interested in trying to be rational or trying to be reasonable, right? We just want our xenophobia confirmed. So, China's AI-driven election meddling in Taiwan points to 2024 risks in the United States. So already, right? AI-driven election meddling in Taiwan. Taiwan is part of China, right? China can no more meddle in Taiwan's election than the president of the United States can meddle in Atlanta's election, right? Like, if Joe Biden were to show up in Georgia and go to Atlanta and say, I really like this guy, vote this guy for mayor, would that be meddling? If the Democrats made an app where there was like a little AI robot that was like, hey, in the next election for mayor in Georgia, For the next election for governor in Georgia, think about voting Democrat. Would that be meddling? So it's only meddling when China does it to its own country, Taiwan, right? The province of Taiwan that exists in China, because Taiwan's not an independent country. So it's only meddling when China does it. Like this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about hysteria, right? Like this is hysterical, and you have to actually be in a state of hysteria to think that Taiwan is an independent country. Right? Even if you support the idea that Taiwan should be an independent country, well, it isn't. It's not. Tough shit for you. Right? Like, keep rah-rahing for that independent country so you can get the war you want. Right? But until such time, Taiwan is part of China. Tough shit for you. Maybe step down from your hysteria. Taiwanese groups on Monday. Taiwanese groups. What groups? Right? Isn't that funny how they always do this? Right? Taiwanese groups. Right? Certainly not fascist organizations or CIA, NGOs or something like this. Right? Like certainly not a group that is literally tied directly with the National for Democracy, the National Endowment for Democracy. Right? Certainly not groups that are linked to the CIA or the State Department or the Pentagon. Right? No. Taiwanese groups. Innocent, pure, and clean as the driven snow. Taiwanese groups on Monday outlined a major disinformation campaign. My favorite part is that we're going to actually get into what the disinformation is, and what you'll see is it's literally China telling the truth. Employed by Chinese actors during the island nations. It's not a nation, right? So again, the Hill is trying to project credibility when it has no credibility. It's calling Taiwan an island nation. Taiwan is not a nation. It doesn't have a seat at the UN. It's not recognized by international communities or international bodies. It's recognized literally by the United States as a province in China. So here is the Hill publishing a hysterical, absurd propaganda piece that is outright spreading disinformation while claiming while pointing its fingers at China, saying they're the ones doing disinformation. So when it comes to the West, every accusation is a confession, right? Every accusation is a confession. So the island nations, the province, right? National elections, provincial elections, right? That's what it is. It's like they're electing a governor. Right? It's like Ron DeSantis. It would be like if we were electing Ron DeSantis and we were saying the nation of Florida, right? Which concluded in January and delivered a blow to Beijing with the victory of a pro-U.S. candidate. Yeah, that's a really shitty outcome for literally everybody, right? It's a shitty outcome for China, it's a shitty outcome from Taiwan, and it's a shitty outcome from the United States. Like, the oddest part about this conversation, right? The oddest part about this conversation is that for some reason, people think it's strange that countries, especially foreign countries, want to have good relations with their neighbors. Like, that to me is what's so kind of perverse about the conversation generally, and so odd. Because, like, of course you want to have good relations with your neighbor. Of course you would like to have somebody in power who looks at your country and thinks, that's a fine country to do trade with and have peaceful relations with. I think it's extremely strange and extremely odd and extremely rooted in xenophobia and white supremacy to look at foreign nations and think, they want to have good relations with their neighbors. They're a totalitarian ethno-state. Like, I think you have lost your mind completely, which, of course, as we continue on, you'll see they have lost their minds completely. AZ over on Twitch. Do you think the outlets like The Hill or the New York Times, Washington Post are controlled by the American quote-unquote deep state? In my country, I know that every newspaper runs through the internal intelligence before it reaches the public. Yeah, I mean, of course. Right? The Hill is owned by an open Zionist. New York Times runs its stories on Palestine via their Jerusalem bureau. I mean, of course the CIA is involved with these organizations, right? You can take a look at Operation Mockingbird, right? That happened in the 70s. What, you think they stopped just because we found out about it? Like, we know that, like, Anderson Cooper, for example, is a CIA spook. He worked for the CIA. You don't stop working for the CIA. So, of course the CIA is interested, and of course the CIA wants to use these outlets. Another reason why these outlets no longer have any credibility, right? Even though they pretend like they do. The alleged tactics from Chinese actors involved using generative artificial AI to manipulate videos and sow discord in Taiwan, including by completely distorting the words of at least one U.S. member of Congress, according to Taiwanese officials and non-government groups who briefed reporters at the National Press Club. Funny that they don't just show you the video. Where's that video? Oh, so they changed the words that somebody said, or they manipulated what they said. Can I see it? It's very much like that Seymour Skinner, you're telling me, it's like that meme, the Simpsons meme, the Chalmers meme, where he's like, you're telling me that there's an Aurora Borealis located directly in your kitchen? Yes. Can I see it? No. Like, that's essentially what we're at right now. John, the CIA may have done some bad things, but they stopped after congressional investigation led to serious consequences, like a slap on the wrist after the church committee. Wow, they got a slap on the wrist even. Wow, they even got a slap on the wrist. Wow, I'm impressed. So there's been an influx of people over on Twitch. We are reading a propaganda article, and today's cast is going to be illustrative. We're watching the Western governments, and we're watching capitalism fall into decay, while attempting to maintain its credibility, and it no longer has credibility. So I'm pointing it out, right? The lack of credibility that exists within these organizations now, and how fraudulent they've become, and how transparently fraudulent. Like, you have to be extremely gullible to believe these people now, right? So I'd say 60% of the American public still is in this category of just being extremely gullible, with another like 20% being like, wait a minute. That's essentially where, and then like another 20% being like, yeah, we don't trust these people. What are you talking about? Many of the disinformation narratives, hilarious as they've literally done a disinformation narrative, right? They call Taiwan a island nation. It's not a nation, right? It isn't. It just nakedly isn't. Many of the disinformation narratives focused on the U.S., such as, I love this, falsely accusing Washington of building biological labs in Taiwan. I don't have evidence that they've done that, so I'm not going to talk on that, okay? Fomenting war between Israel and Palestinian militant group Hamas in Gaza. Yeah, they've definitely done that. The narratives harbor clues as to how China is trying to manipulate public opinion during the U.S. presidential elections this year. Like, when you are in this place of, like, incredulous paranoia, when you no longer have credibility and you're just, like, wide-eyed and just being like, disinformation campaign, and you're pointing at everyone and you're in this kind of panicked tizzy that you're in, then China saying, hey, hi, America, can't help but notice you have an election. Well, hope it goes well. We of course have a preferred candidate, and the preferred candidate that we would like is the one that's saying China's okay, right? Well, if you're a hysterical, crazed lunatic, like most people in America seem to be, the response to that is, they're manipulating our elections. They're coming over here and they're telling American citizens how to vote, and they're spreading disinformation into the society, and we got to do something about the Chinamen coming over here and doing things, and like China, right? China. So, like, when you're a hysterical person that doesn't use evidence in their thinking and is paranoid about what's going on in the world, to the point of, like, it being like a neurosis, then you think China saying, hi, I hope you elect somebody that likes us. Here's a good thing China did, right? You think that that's manipulation, right? Because, like, what has China done? Well, China says, hey, America, here's something good China did. Spooky, scary, manipulative, right? It's just them setting up another Russiagate narrative. It's just them getting ready to confess in front of everyone that their systems are so pathetic and so weak that any other nation can just override elections, right? Because they're so pathetic and they can't do anything about it. Other Chinese disinformation narratives found by the Taiwanese groups. Who are these Taiwanese groups? Why won't they name the Taiwanese groups, right? Are they literally neo-Nazi organizations? Who are these organizations? We're not told. We don't know. And also their claims, we're not given any information. Like they literally have... they're literally claiming that China is using artificial intelligence to manipulate videos. Can you show me the videos? You could do a side-by-side comparison. It'd be easy to do. You could just put a link right here, and it will go to another page. We have the technology. Since, like, 1995, we've had that technology. No? Not going to do that? Oh, okay. I definitely believe you. Other Chinese disinformation narratives found by the Taiwanese groups refer to the USA. Oh yeah, I love this, because this is much more blatant. Other Chinese disinformation narratives found by the Taiwanese groups refer to the U.S. as a fake ally that will abandon Taiwan. Just nakedly true. Completely and totally nakedly true. Accuse Washington of having a fake democracy. Again, nakedly true. There's nothing democratic about the American system. And blame Americans for sowing chaos across the world. Again, nakedly true. Right? So, like, look at how The Hill is trying to take statements that are just completely factually true, like 1 + 1 = 2, true, and be like, that's disinformation. We are a credible organization that still has credibility. Credibility. When they just don't. Right? It's just embarrassing to watch this, like, old, dying, pathetic guard try to pretend like they still have credibility when they don't. All while Chinese propaganda portrays Beijing as the source of good and order. Yeah, how dare a country want to project an image of being good? Right? Like I don't get this. It'd be like if I saw a guy on the street and he was wearing like a nice outfit, had his hair done up really nicely, was wearing a nice sharp pair of glasses, good cut beard, right? All of this and all of his actions, you'd like go up to him and be like, hey bud, how you doing? And be like, oh, well, how are you doing today, fella? And then they had a nice conversation, and then walking away from it and being like, he's trying to manipulate me. He's trying to break into my house, right? Like, you sound fucking paranoid as shit. Because America is paranoid as shit, because they understand their empire is in decay and declining. So they don't know what to do. So all they can do is project their fear outward. Chi Hao Yu, the co-director of the Taiwan Information Environment Research Center, a non-governmental organization, NGO, right? So CIA, right? NGOs are CIA, right? The CIA creates NGOs, and those NGOs operate as if they are not CIA, right? That's it. And it's amazing how easy this is, right? It's amazing how all the CIA has to do is create an NGO, and then everybody goes, that's an independent organization. It's an independent organization that receives funding independently and acts independently from the CIA independently. Like, how stupid do you have to be? NGOs are CIA. Like, specializing in information research, said his organization has documented 84 narratives propagated by China seeking to stoke U.S. skepticism. Like, oh no, how dare China try to stoke U.S. skepticism in a province that is its own country? Right? Like, how dare it, especially when the United States has a track record of trying to peel sections off of China in order to foment war and break it apart and balkanize it. Yeah, how dare they? How dare they? How dare they fight back? Chiao said Chinese actors, like literally China. I don't understand this, Chinese actors, as if they're like dark, shadowy figures. Literally, the National People's Congress and everybody in it, including everybody in China, is looking at this being like, yeah, like, Taiwan is part of us. You yourselves have said so in the past. It's not a nation. Like, if I'm in China reading this article, I'm like, the Americans have lost their minds. And they have, by the way. That's what's so funny about this. The Americans have lost their minds completely. And the rest of the world sees it. Like, if you're in China reading this article, the only thing you can think is, oh shit, these people are insane. He said Chinese actors are pushing to fortify and reinforce a pro-Beijing alternative worldview, which he said his NGO is combating by data collection and focus group discussions on the local level to understand the impacts of information manipulation. Remembering that alternative worldview is that the United States is sowing chaos throughout the world, literally caused a war in Ukraine, literally doing a genocide in Israel right now, literally all the wars throughout the Middle East for the last 40 years, right? And that China has not done those things. That's the alternative worldview, otherwise known as what's going on. We need to figure out how that is reaching from our phones to our minds, and how that is changing our perception of the world, and how that is damaging our shared reality. I love it. For this guy, reality starts with his phone. It doesn't start with reality. Oh, America continuously does a series of genocides and wars and coups and destroys everything. And China doesn't. And China says that it doesn't. That's a disinformation campaign. That's what that is. That's a disinformation campaign. That's what that is. We gotta do something about this. Because we're white people. And white people own the world! The campaign in Taiwan is especially concerning from Washington. I'm not going to read the rest of it right now. I'm going to say it's especially concerning from Washington because Washington is a white supremacist nation that wants to overthrow China. That's what it is. But what the article says is because China is using similar tactics in the United States. According to Microsoft, which released a report this month on Beijing's disinformation campaigns. Yeah, it's Beijing doing the disinformation for sure. Some Chinese government-linked accounts have posted about presidential candidates in the United States elections, Microsoft said. Oh no, guys. People from China are talking about the election. Hold on. Hold the funky phone. People from China can talk about the United States election? This is manipulation at the highest possible level. One of the most prolific Chinese actors. They love this Chinese actors thing, right? Like, it dehumanizes them. That's why they like using it, right? It makes them spooky and scary. It means that they're not just people, right? They're Chinese actors. They're acting on behalf of China instead of just, yeah, and like, why shouldn't they act on behalf of China? They're from China, right? Like, are we so weak and so stupid that we actually genuinely think that a Chinese person talking is just innately and naturally manipulative and scary? Is that how weak we are? Because it seems like we've become such a weak people that we refuse to even have a basic conversation with another nation. It's just crazy. I love this. One of the most prolific Chinese actors spreading propaganda is commonly known as spamouflage. And another is an espionage group called Gingham Typhoon, which is very active in the Indo-Pacific. These names do not sound made up at all. Like, again, oh no, China wants to talk. Like, you're just mad because they're saying the truth, right? You're just mad because people are going, yeah, that sounds right, as opposed to going, yeah, whatever the CIA says sounds right. That's it. That's the only reason you're butthurt about this. Because your lies aren't working anymore. And it's obvious that they're not working anymore. And so you're in a tizzy, right? You've lost the narrative in Israel. And now you're worried that you're going to lose the narrative in China. And you are going to lose the narrative in China, right? Why? Because people are starting to go like, wait a minute, you're liars. It's so obvious that you're liars. Like maybe we should actually listen to alternative theories. And they listen to alternative theories and they go, yeah, that actually sounds correct. Yeah, that seems to align with what history has done. Like, as soon as you get out of the daddy worship brain, right, and actually start to acknowledge that reality exists, like, it's not scary to say that China is being accurate, right? What's actually scary is that your own government is lying to you. That's what's scary about all this. That your own government is actively lying to you, and then looking at you, listening to alternative theories coming out of other nations and going, that needs to be stopped. Free speech, after all. Microsoft warned that Chinese actors honed their techniques and experimented with new media. Okay. So they got really good at talking. In the Indo-Pacific last year, using a complex strategy of AI-generated news anchors and memes, like cartoons. So they made like a bunch of information cartoons, right? And yeah, maybe they had some AI generation and all that, but it's like memes and cartoons. This is what we're scared of, you guys. This is what the Hill wants us to all lose our fucking minds about. That China, hold on, guys. Hold on. You'll never fucking believe it. We here at the Canadian Commie are going to report this drastically important piece of news that everyone needs to hear. The authoritarian state of China is creating information cartoons for people to look at. You guys. Cartoons with information. Oh! And may improve their ability to influence elections down the line. May is doing an awful lot of heavy lifting in that phrase. Again, if the American systems are so weak that they can be overturned because China released some cartoons, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, I don't know how pathetic and weak you actually think your own country is. We are prepared to see influence actors interact with Americans for engagement and to potentially research perspectives on U.S. politics. Like, here's how they want you to hear this, okay? We are prepared to see influence actors interact with Americans for engagement and to potentially research perspectives on U.S. politics. Microsoft warned in the report. China will, at minimum, create and amplify AI-generated content that benefits their position in these high-profile elections. That's how they want you to hear it. How I hear it, and anybody who's actually like a strong person with like a center and principles and is like calm in the way they think about the world, we are prepared to see China talk to America, and to, like, know something about America, right? Research perspectives on U.S. politics. So China's going to learn something about America and then talk to Americans, okay? And then they'll create, like, little cartoons, AI-generated content, right? Cartoons. That's going to, you know, try to send a good message about China to Americans who hopefully will then vote for people who have a kind of pro-China position and think well of China. Like, imagine you had a neighbor. Okay? You got a neighbor. Let's give her a fun name. Like China. And she, like, came over to your house and knocked on your door and was like, howdy, neighbor. I got a strawberry shortcake for you. How you doing today, neighbor? I was talking to your husband or wife or sister or brother or whoever's in your life, and they mentioned that, boy, how do you like strawberry shortcakes? So I thought it'd be really neat and nifty and great if I made you a strawberry shortcake. And they give you the strawberry shortcake and they say, well, I hope you enjoy your strawberry shortcake. Have a good day. Oh, by the way, there's a town meeting coming up, and I hope you'll be on my side on whatever issue comes up at the town meeting. Have a good day, and they leave. And then you take the strawberry shortcake and you go, that fucking bitch is trying to manipulate me. She's trying to get in my head and figure things. Like, that is what is happening here. Dude, I should make this movie. Like, that's psychotic, but America is psychotic, and this article is psychotic. They're literally trying to terrorize us with the idea that China wants to talk to us. Russell Hiseo, the executive director of the nonprofit research and Washington-based Global Taiwan Institute, CIA, said China is undermining the credibility and reliability of the United States in Taiwan and other countries. No. The United States is undermining its own credibility and reliability. You don't need to convince people that the United States has no credibility and is unreliable. The United States does a fine job of doing that itself. It's like a guy who always shows up late for work, forgets his tools, doesn't actually do the work while he's there, and then you say to him, "Hey man, like I'm not really able to rely on you in this job, right?" And then he goes, "This is disinformation. You're just trying to talk shit about me." You had this idea like 3 years ago, John. You said you would write a script called I'm Erica. Oh, yes, I'm Erica. I forgot about I'm Erica, actually. Thank you for reminding us. I'm Erica. That would actually be really good in that script. I'm Erica. For those of you who don't know, I'm Erica is a script idea that I've had for a long time that maybe one day I'll actually sit down and write. June, I should actually sit down and start writing that. I've actually carved time out of my life where I've got a couple of hours that I could sit down and actually type something out, and maybe it should be this script. And the idea of it is that you would follow this character, Erica, right? And I think it would be great if they were all drag queens, first of all. That would be great. So you have everybody as a drag queen, and it's right after World War II, basically, and you just follow the events of World War II up until the modern era, and you have this character, Erica, whose tagline and catchphrase is, I'm Erica. Like, after everything she does, she's like, I'm Erica, right? And she had, like, I'm Erica. I'm Erica. I'm Erica. And it's explicit. Like, no. If anybody watched it and it was like, I don't understand the metaphor, I'd be like, really? She's wearing red, white, and blue. Like, she looks like America. One of her major antagonists' name is literally China. And so like America would basically be insane, right? On one hand, she would be like dynamic and electric and energetic and have like a Britney Spears kind of thing where she's projecting this image of like, look how fun and cool I am. But then literally would like turn around and enslave people and just be like a complete psycho, like a total psycho, right? Watson, looks like Donald Trump finally won the popular vote. Someone please fund John's movie. That's great, A-Box. I just need to sit down and actually write it. That'd be so great. It'd be fun to do. Anyway, back to the article. So all the more important that there's... For those of you who are just coming in and want to quickly catch up on the article, so far what the article is telling us is to be afraid of China because it's talking to us. So all the more important that there's stronger and better and more efficient public-private partnerships within Taiwan. Fascist organizations. We need to interact capital into the governmental body, right? Fascism. Between the civil society being the capitalist class, the bourgeoisie, right? And the government. But also internationally, between the Taiwanese international bourgeoisie and the American bourgeoisie. Between governments, right, owned by the bourgeoisie, and also civil society, the bourgeoisie, as well. So let's reinterpret this. So all the more important that there's stronger and better and more efficient fascist systems within Taiwan between the Taiwanese bourgeoisie and those fascist systems, but also internationally between the American bourgeoisie and the Taiwanese bourgeoisie, he said. The NGOs said the disinformation campaign in Taiwan was spread on popular apps such as video sharing platforms TikTok, which in the US is being hotly debated. Some lawmakers want to ban Chinese-owned TikTok. It's not Chinese-owned. That's the thing that's so fucking fun. In an article, it's about disinformation. You're spreading disinformation. TikTok is not Chinese-owned. Like, maybe, like, a section of it is. Like, maybe there's, like, an independent Chinese person that owns, like, 10% of TikTok. But, like, Trump forced TikTok to sell. And it's largely managed by Singaporeans, for God's sakes. The House passed a bill in March that would ban TikTok unless it's sold by its Chinese parent company, ByteDance. Analysts are increasingly warning that China is seeking to influence the U.S. elections this year. Like, China is seeking to influence U.S. elections this year. How are they doing that? By making little cartoons, AI-generated memes. Researchers wrote that Chinese actors are attempting to acquire Taiwan social media accounts and to pay influencers to promote its narratives. Oh no, guys, China wants people to like it. Oh no. Like, I just don't know why I'm supposed to even be suspicious of this, right? I think it's the most normal thing in the world for a country to want to convince other people that it's a nice place to be. Like, this is what floors me about this whole article. It uses this method to inundate online spaces with high volumes of content to manipulate algorithms and increase spread. So they're doing it effectively, they wrote. As the United States prepares for 2024 elections, Washington can examine both China's disinformation influence efforts in Taiwan and the effectiveness of Taiwan's countermeasures. It's just so comically childish. The Taiwanese elections were held in mid-January. The victor, Lai Ching-te, whose pro-U.S. party currently governs Taiwan and rejects Taiwanese sovereignty over the island, beat out a candidate from the more pro-China Kuomintang party. It's really funny that it's the Kuomintang party. Like, historically, the Kuomintang and the communists, a contentious relationship, let's call it. The election was closely watched by both the U.S. and China as tensions grow over a potential Chinese invasion or blockade of Taiwan. Yeah, maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe there's a reason China is interested in invading, Taiwan. Incidentally, you can't really invade your own country. Like, Taiwan is part of China. The U.S. has informal relations with Taiwan. I love it. The U.S. has informal relations with Taiwan. But commits to support Taipei. Like, that's creepy as shit. So I love it. China basically says, hi, we're China. This is what's going on in China. Disinformation campaign, trying to influence our elections, overthrow our government. Oh. But the Americans literally saying, hey, a city within China, we support that city no matter what it does. Like, can you imagine if China said, like Miami? Yeah, if Miami declares independence, we'll support it. What do you think would happen? Chinese leader Xi Jinping has told his troops to be ready for a potential invasion by 2027. I'm totally here for it, man. I'm ready. Because when China does it, they're not going to fuck around. Like, it's not going to be like a little dip in the toe thing the way that Putin went into Ukraine. It's going to be like full force. It's going to be cool. It's going to be really amazing. During the elections, along with the disinformation campaign, China also intimidated Taiwan over the strait separating the two nations by repeatedly flying aircraft and spy balloons across Taipei's aircraft and exclusive zone. It flew over its own airspace because Taiwan is part of China, right? The election was ultimately a setback to Beijing as it solidified Taiwan's preference for closer ties with the United States, and it showed that voters were not largely influenced by Chinese propaganda. And it really shows you that the Taiwanese people are actually, like, really, really dumb, right? I had to dip out yesterday during that bit of the conversation, but I'm still a bit confused as to how you expect China to overcome a 50-to-1 air power disadvantage in a hypothetical war. They have, again, it's a manpower issue, right? Like you're hyper-focused on, like, hardware. China has 1.4 billion people. America does not have that. They're having difficulty recruiting. Like, they can have as many jet fighters as they want if they don't have pilots. Like, it's just not. And like, what, you think that America is just going to be able to fly planes over China and China's not going to just shoot rockets at them? Right? Like, I just, like, I'm not trying to say that America could not be destructive, right? Obviously, they'll be destructive. They've proven that to everybody that they're destructive. But you're pretending as though China is completely helpless. And it's just not. Like, well, why doesn't America use its flight advantage against the Houthis? Why doesn't America use its flight advantage to defeat the Houthis? Where's their war against the Houthis? Right? Why don't they use their big flight advantage in Ukraine? Why don't they just win the Ukrainian war with their big flight advantage? Like, it's just not that serious, right? China might support an independent Miami. Yeah, exactly. Still, Eve Chu, the editor-in-chief of the NGO Taiwan Fact-Check Center, right, the CIA, of course, described a wide-reaching Chinese disinformation campaign that included narratives about the U.S. as the originator of COVID-19 and that the U.S. would fail to protect Taiwan in a war. The U.S. would fail to protect Taiwan in a war. For sure it would. Like, the United States is not going to go toe-to-toe with a nuclear superpower, right? They don't have the moral courage, and not that they have any principles in the first place. Eve said the scope of the disinformation campaign was bigger than the last election in Taiwan, with AI boosting the spread of the content. China used generative AI to spread conspiracies about the CIA. Sorry. Okay. China spread conspiracies about the CIA interfering in the elections, and to manipulate the words of Representative Rob Whitman to say the U.S. was accelerating arms dealers to Taiwan. But, I mean, we know that representatives have said that very thing. And the United States is shipping weapons to Taiwan, right? Like, that's what makes this election so concerning for China, is that the United States is sending weapons into Taiwan while simultaneously working with the Taiwanese in order to create, like, a They did the same thing in Ukraine. Like, they did the same exact thing in Ukraine. It's just so... It's very hard to verify, she said, saying the videos are very sophisticated. So they literally just show a video of the guy saying it, and then they go fake news. That's just so amazing. That's just so amazing. Well, you just said it. It's not that serious. No, I mean, like, obviously war is serious. But, like, the claim that the United States is just going to be able to just, like, we win. Like, if America begins a war with China in a serious way, just say goodbye to Los Angeles. Like, the idea that the Chinese are not going to be able to hit America back, I don't think that that's serious. Like, a war with China is a blisteringly arrogant idea. Just like a blisteringly arrogant idea and a complete underestimation of what the Chinese can deliver. Right? Like, I just don't understand how you can look at China as it has overwhelmed the West industrially and has overtaken the West in its industrial capacity and think anything other than, oh, if China decides to militarize its economy, we're fucked. It will be able to outproduce us in huge and enormous ways. Like, and I'm more or less of the opinion that it won't actually be that close. Because the way our manufacturing base works is that we dicker. Because everything has these parasites on the side of it, right? Everything has these parasites on the side of it. Yet the U.S. has had aircraft carriers in the South China Sea for decades. And you know who's aware of that? You know who really knows that there are aircraft carriers there? China. Right? Like, it's just so... Like, it's just so odd the way you're talking about this. That's all. Like, it's just extremely strange. So when is this advantage supposed to manifest? Like, so when you're here, do you not actually listen to what I say? Do you not actually read the articles that are on the screen? Like, that's what's kind of shocking about this conversation. Like, you've been here for a while, right? the Wall Street Times, or the New York Times rather, the Wall Street Journal, right? These guys are publishing articles openly talking about it, talking about China's industrial advantage, talking about how they are creating a larger manufacturing base than the United States. Like, it's the empire itself is telling you that this is happening. Like, when are we supposed to see this industrial advantage in China? It's happening right now. Like, would you acknowledge it if it was right in front of your face? Because it's right in front of your face. Like, China's... Why do you think this whole thing is happening? Because America is terrified of China's growing industrial power and sees China as in an ascension. And because China is in an ascension. It is growing. But that's what I'm saying, right? I feel like you're deeply triggered on this issue. Like, I feel like I'm really triggering something inside of you, and so you're not actually hearing what's being said, right? So I'm going to really encourage you to actually hear what's being said, okay? Right now, China's industrial advantage is its civil industry and its trade networks, right? Should China decide to militarize itself and shift its industrial capacity into militarization, it will be able to do so very quickly. You know what, Haley? I'm just going to move on. I don't think you're listening. Okay. So we're going to move on to the next article. Why are people so down about the economy? This is from the New York Times, right? Another hysterical article that really shows you how lacking in credibility the United States empire is. Like, they don't even really understand, why are people so down about the economy? Theories abound. Let's listen to the New York Times guys as they try to convince us, why are people so down about the economy? What's going on in the economy that people should be so down about it? I don't understand, as I smoke my cigar in my Bugatti that's at the top of the Empire State Building. Things look strong on paper, but many Americans remain unconvinced. We asked economic officials, the women who coined Vibesession, and Charlemagne the God what they think is happening. For real. The woman who coined Vibesession and Charlemagne the God, and economic officials, so the most illiterate people possible. Great. The U.S. economy has been an enigma over the past few years. The job market is booming, and consumers are still spending, which is usually a sign of optimism. I love it. The slaves are working harder than they've ever worked before, and they're spending all their money. What's wrong? What are they spending their money on? Oh, rent and food, right? Because rent is sky high and through the roof, and food is sky high and through the roof. But boy, we're making a lot of money. Look at all the profits we're making from the slave labor that we're inflicting on the society. Why are people upset? But if you ask Americans, many will tell you that they feel bad about the economy and are unhappy about President Biden's economic record. Dude, I can already tell this is just going to be a laugh riot. This is just going to be a laugh riot. Call it the Vibesession. Call it a mystery. Blame TikTok. Media headlines are the long shadow of the pandemic. No, bro, we can't pay rent. Like, are you stupid? Like, are you stupid? The answer is obviously yes. Like, these people are very stupid. And they're, like, revealing it to us. Like, look at how stupid these people are. This is in the New York Times. The gloom prevails. The University of Michigan Consumer Confidence Index, which looked a little bit sunnier this year after a substantial slowdown in inflation over 2023, has again soured. And while a measure of sentiment produced by the conference board improved in May, the survey showed that expectations remain shaky. The negativity could end up mattering in the 2024 presidential election. More than half of registered voters in 6 battleground states rated the economy as poor in a recent poll by the New York Times, the Philadelphia Inquirer, and Siena College. And 14% said the political and economic system needed to be torn down entirely. Hi. Hello. I'm in that 14%. We should tear down the entire economic system. We should nationalize the banks. We should nationalize the food distribution network. We should nationalize the resource base, right? We should nationalize the mines, right? We should nationalize the raw resources. Should make sure that capitalists do not have their sticky fingers in these ridiculous situations. Haley says weak debating, brother. It wasn't a debate, right? You were not listening. Full stop. I'm just going to address this and then I'm going to move on, right? Wasn't a debate. You were not listening, so I moved on. I have no interest in trying to inform people who close their ears and are not interested in listening. So if you would like to listen to what's being said to you and hear what's being said, we can continue that, but I'm not interested in moving on with you if this is the way you're going to act. Razor's edge, right? Like, I feel like I'm in flat earth territory with you right now. So, razor's edge. The negativity could end up mattering in the 2024 presidential election. More than half of registered voters in 6 battleground states rated the economy as poor in a recent poll by the New York Times, the Philadelphia Inquirer, and Siena College. And 14% said the political and economic system needed to be torn down entirely. What's going on here? We asked government officials... Yeah, awesome. We asked government officials and prominent analysts from the Federal Reserve, the White House, academia, and the Internet commentariat about what they think is happening. Here's a summary of what they said. Price levels matter. No shit. And people are also getting some facts wrong. Oh yeah, it's the people that are getting the facts wrong, right? The most common explanation for why people feel bad about the economy, one that every person interviewed for this article brought up, is simple. Prices jumped a lot when inflation was really rapid in 2021 and 2022. Yeah, when the corporations jacked prices on us, right? And then extracted $3 trillion out of the economy. Now they aren't climbing as quickly, but people are left contending with the reality that rent, cheeseburgers, running shoes, and daycare all cost more. What a fucking mystery. Who can figure it out? I can't possibly imagine what's going on. Everything costs more and people are upset by the economy. What's going on? Inflation is a pressure cooker, said Kyla Scanlon, who this week is releasing a book titled In This Economy that explains common economic concepts. Dude, how much do you want to bet that this woman is just like, the dollar is the most important part of the economy. Trickle-down economics works. It hurts over time. You had a couple of years of pretty high inflation, and people are really dealing with the aftermath of that. But Miss Scanlon also pointed out that the knowledge gaps could be part of the problem. A Harris poll for The Guardian this month found that the majority of Americans incorrectly believed that the United States was in a recession. About half said they believed the stock market was down from last year, though it is up considerably. Yes, there is economic frustration, but these are objectively verifiable facts, she said. But since when has the stock market mattered, right? Since when has where the stock market is, yeah, Warren Buffett has more money. So what? So what? So Warren Buffett has more money. Right? So what? The stock market's through the roof! Who cares? I can't imagine caring about that. Right? You literally just said that inflation spiked on us, and now you're just kind of moving on with this little gaslighting point of Americans don't seem to know that Warren Buffett's making lots of money. Duh, America's not in a recession because we measure recession based on how much money Warren Buffett makes. Yeah, so, Americans, what a bunch of dimwits. Part of this is about memory. A big question is why, when the economy is growing, unemployment is historically low, and stock prices are climbing, things feel so dim. When I talk to folks, they all tell me that they want interest rates to be lower, and they also tell me that prices are too high. Raphael Bostic told reporters last week, people remember where prices used to be, and they remember that they didn't have to talk about inflation, and that was a very comfortable place. I didn't used to have a vice around my balls. I didn't used to have people constantly kicking me in the balls. Americans are talking about how often they're getting kicked in the balls now. Is there misinformation surrounding all the balls kicking that's going on? People are too hyper-focused on having their balls kicked constantly. Mr. Bostic and his colleagues at the Fed have raised interest rates to a more than 2-decade high in an effort to bring down the rapid price increases. And he said the key was wrestling inflation back to normal quickly. Catching up with inflation takes time. Yeah, because we're definitely going to do that. We're definitely catching up with inflation. As inflation cools, I love how they're constantly trying to convince us. I love that they're in this constant state of constantly trying to convince us. They're like, oh, inflation's actually cooled. No, it really hasn't, right? It went like this, right? It went right up, and then it went, oh, and now it's like that. So it's going up at a 45-degree angle instead of a 90-degree angle, and that's cooling. What did I tell you? I told you this a year ago, right? Remember when I told you guys this? Does anybody actually remember me saying this? That they're going to try to normalize the new price, that they're going to jack up inflation and they're going to normalize the price now, and they're going to have like a steady increase in inflation and be like, oh, it's back to 2 or 3%. We're back to normal, right? Here they are doing it. They're trying to convince you that the fact that you're paying double for food, normal, that's just normal. You just need to work harder. Just get another job. Jesus fucking Christ. As inflation cools, there is some hope that the negativity could fade. Never let the negativity fade. These people should be jailed. Jared Bernstein noted that for the past 14 months, middle-class wage growth had been beating inflation. How much you want to bet I'm going to click on this article? Let's see what this article goes. Loading. Federal Reserve of Atlanta. Distribution of individual wage growth. This is actually a good source for once. I usually expect to click on these articles and it sends me to like another Atlantic page or another page. Individual wage. So what are we looking at here? Oh yeah, okay. Oh yeah. So in 1999, if you were in the lower, the 25th percentile, right? You were in the negatives to begin with, and then it went down. Right, down, and now it's crawled all the way back up to where it was in 1998, right? And look at that pattern. Like, look at that pattern, right? Down it goes, then back up, and then down it goes, and then now it's crawled, and now we have one little tiny, itsy-bitsy, little tiny spike, and it's going down. And these guys are like, yeah, it's fine. It's totally normal and totally fine. And doesn't this look like a pattern of stagnation to you? Doesn't this look like total fucking stagnation to you? Down and then back up and then down and up, but it's within this like very thin bandwidth. Doesn't this look like stagnation? So they're literally linking to the Federal Reserve that shows you straight out that your wages have stagnated since at least 1998. That's like 20 years. So for 20 years, your wages have been completely stagnant. And then they also want you to believe that inflation isn't actually chewing into that, right? Funny how they're not actually like showing you a graph that actually has inflation beside wages, right? Funny how they're not doing that, right? And predicting that people would feel better as wages caught up to higher price levels. If that were wrong, everyone would be walking around eternally upset that gas doesn't cost $1 a gallon, Mr. Bernstein said. The two components of that adjustment are time plus rising real pay. Wages have lagged. Oh, so now wages are lagging, right? So before it was inflation was actually lower than wages, but now wages have lagged. Okay. But not everyone has broken even at this point. And that could be part of the explanation behind the continued pessimism. On average, pay gains have not fully caught up with the jump in prices since the start of the pandemic. If you compare consumer price index increases with a wages and salary measure that Fed officials watch closely, they still haven't made up for all of the lost ground, Loretta Meister said. They're still in a hole. A little bit. Ms. Mester noticed that people were also struggling to afford houses because prices have shot up in many places, and high interest rates are making first-time ownership difficult, putting that part of the American dream out of reach for many. Yeah, the educated idiots who write these types of articles are willfully ignorant because they're paid to be. Yeah. Interest rates are part of the issue. That touches on the issue that Lawrence H. Summers recently raised in an economic paper. For most people, the higher interest rates that the Fed is using to try and slow down demand and squash price increases feel like just another form of inflation. In fact, if high interest rates are added into inflation, that explains most of the gap between where consumer confidence is and where one might expect it to be. Are these guys actually going to talk about the fact that we're experiencing an extraction of wealth? Are these guys actually going to talk about that? How we're actually experiencing like a wealth extraction, right? That there was an extraction of $3 trillion out of the economy from the bottom to the top in the largest wealth exchange in the history of the West, if not the globe. Are these guys actually going to talk about how like huge sections of the populace were impoverished? Is it actually going to happen, do you think? Right? Do you think they're actually going to bring it up? That the rich are making extraordinarily huge profits while our wages are stagnate? Do you actually think they're going to bring it up? We'll see. The experienced cost of living is much greater than inflation as reflected by the Consumer Price Index, Mr. Summers said in an interview. He noted that consumer confidence improved when market-based rates, which feed into mortgage and leasing costs, eased earlier this year, then sank again as they rose. People remember more comfortable times. Whatever is causing the unhappiness, it seems to be translating into negativity towards Mr. Biden. No shit. In the recent Times poll, many said they thought the economic and political system needed to be changed, and fewer said they thought that Mr. Biden, as opposed to former President Donald J. Trump, would usher in big alterations. I don't know why we give a shit about what Charlemagne the God says, recently suggested on The Interview, a Times podcast, that black voters in particular might be turning from Mr. Biden and toward Mr. Trump because they associated the former president with the last time they felt financially secure. Mr. Trump's administration sent out 2 rounds of stimulus relief checks, which Mr. Trump signed. Mr. Biden sent out 1, which he did not. And inflation began to pop in 2021 after Mr. Trump left office. People are now living paycheck to paycheck, Charlemagne said during a follow-up interview specifically about the economy. You don't know struggle until you've had to decide whether you're going to pay for your car or pay for your rent. To his point, rents are up drastically. Oh wow, they actually mentioned it since before the pandemic. And auto loan delinquencies are rising sharply. While inflation and higher interest rates have been a global phenomenon, people tend to blame the current economic challenges on whoever is in office. People can't see past their bills, Charlemagne said. All we want is upward mobility and security. And whoever can provide that, even for a fleeting moment, you never forget it. Like, it's just like, is anybody else getting this? Like, is anybody else seeing how it's like, it's like a robot trying to struggle with the concept of love, right? Like that these guys are literally like writing an article in order to try to come to terms with the fact that there was an extraction of wealth and that extraction of wealth is continuing. Like, does anybody else getting this vibe that it's just like these people aren't actually human, that they're not actually like looking at evidence or facts? They're not actually like living in reality. People are anxious post-pandemic. In fact, the recent economy has offered something of a split screen. Some people are doing really well. Yeah, the extractors, right? The people who extracted wealth from the populace are doing really well, right? And then they go ahead and brag about it. Watching their retirement portfolios improve and their home prices appreciate. But those people were often already well off. Yeah, Warren Buffett was already well off. Meanwhile, people carrying credit card balances are facing much higher rates, and many Americans have exhausted whatever savings they've managed to amass during the pandemic. Like, I love how they're creating a dynamic here where they're pretending like there's an equivalency, right? Where they're pretending like, oh wow, 5% of the populace is doing really well. 90% of the populace is in the shitter, right? Like literally 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck right now. 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Like that's the majority by a lot. But to listen to these guys talk about it, they're like, well, the same number of people are doing really well as the same number of people that aren't. I wonder along what line that exists. Could it be between the ownership class and the working class? No, you can't talk that way, because then you're a commie. Meanwhile, people carrying credit, blah, blah, blah. These groups are doing really, really well, and there are also groups that are struggling, Susan Collins said. We talked to individuals who are having a lot of trouble making ends meet. But she also noted that the period since the pandemic had been wrought with uncertainty. Changes to interest rate policies, years of inflation, and headlines about war and geopolitical upheaval may have shaken how people view their economic situations. I think that there is a different level of anxiety post-pandemic that is hard to rule out, Ms. Collins said. Like, you're taking all our money and doing a fucking genocide. Like, this isn't a fucking mystery. This is just so astounding to watch. These detached psychopaths pretend like they're well-meaning, trying to grapple with this idea of like, why do people think the economy is going so bad while they're working 3 jobs and still failing to pay the rent? Like, this article is just convincing me these people are psychos. Still, there's one enduring mystery about the vibe session. Fuck, do I think that that's condescending. Holy fuck, do I think that's condescending. Vibe session. Right? It's not because we're struggling to eat and pay rent and put food on the table and we're having to take on roommates and we're having to like make major concessions in our lives and some of us have to move back in with our parents. No, that's not what it is. It's not the lived reality that millions of people are actually enduring. It's vibes. Like literally go fuck yourself. Literally cut your cock off and shove it up your ass. You fucking losers. People tend to be more optimistic about their personal economic situations than they are about the economy as a whole. What the fuck are you talking about? That could be because Americans rely on the media for their perception of national economic conditions, and news sentiment has grown more downbeat in recent years, said Aaron Sorgener, who recently wrote a study suggesting that economic news coverage has become more negative since 2018, and much more negative since 2021. Yeah, dude. Like, homelessness is going up. Like, poverty is on the rise. The third leading cause of death amongst my age group is suicide. Like what? What the fuck? Yeah, Charlemagne the landlord. Thanks, woke. For the last 6 years, the tone of economic news has been considerably more sour and negative than would be predicted based on macroeconomic variables, he said, but he acknowledged that journalists factored in real experiences and consumer sentiment data into their reporting. Yeah, evidence. So it is difficult to know to what degree bad vibes are driving negative news and how much negative news is driving bad vibes. Does the sentiment cause the news? Or does the news tone cause the sentiment? I don't know, said Mr. Whoever this fucking moron is. We can't pay our rent, you dim-witted moron. We're all working full-time jobs. We're all working 2 jobs. Our wages have stagnated. Like, what do you fucking think is going on? You dim-witted sycophant? Like, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, man. Holy fucking shit. Just when I think that these guys can't surprise me anymore, they come out with this shit. And they just reveal to everyone that they are illiterate, they are detached, They are psychopathic, and they are deeply, 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 deeply stupid. Deeply stupid. Like, holy fucking shit. And, like, an entire apparatus, editors read this, and were like, why are people so down on the economy? Might have something to do with the fact that, A, we cannot pay the rent, even as we work full-time jobs. B, the price of food has tripled. Tripled is an overstatement. The price of food has gone up like 50%, right? So goods are more expensive than they once were. 3, wages have stagnated. People are having to move back in with their parents, take on roommates, right? And then 4, any taxes we actually end up paying goes to kill little Palestinian children in Rafah. Instead of, like, you know, healthcare. Like, what? And then these guys are like, no, it's just vibes, I guess. Like, holy fuck, dude. We're fucking finished, eh? Like, this society is finished. These are the people who are at the apex of the society. These are the people who are propagandizing the society. These are the people who are here to speak to the society, to create consensus, to spread information into the society. Like, if I wanted to be nice, I would say they're here to ensure that everybody has a good formal information base, and this is what they sound like. Like, we're finished. It's over. We cannot recover. We will not recover. Like, that like, when I first started this article, I really was like, haha, let's laugh at this, haha, haha. Nah, dude. Like, this is quite serious. The people at the top of this society are not just psychopathic, they're also stupid. Like, wow. I'm actually, like, completely floored by this article. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Because, like, you want to believe that it's like, yeah, they know. Like, they know what they're up to, and they understand what they're doing. But they don't. They don't even really understand what they're doing. Right? They're just making extremely stupid decisions, doing extremely, like, and you see how they didn't mention the extraction of $3 trillion from the economy? There was a transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich through the pandemic period of $3 trillion. The largest transfer in the history of the species. It took place over 2 years. It was an extraction. No mention. Not even discussed. Oh, some people are doing really well. Yeah, some people who did the extraction are doing really well. Some people who are extracting wealth are doing really well. No, the slavers are doing really well, but the slaves are unhappy. We really can't put together what's going on. Meanwhile, over in China, they're literally, like, curing diabetes. Like, we're not going to pull out of this. Like, if these are the people who are at the helm, we're not pulling out of this. That we're going to have to put up with 4 fucking years of Donald Trump. Here in Canada, it's going to be 4 fucking years of Polyev. And what are they going to do? Make everything worse. Right? And how do we know that's true? They keep telling us. They keep telling us that their strategy is to make everything worse on purpose. Just fucking... Like, I really hope that they just take the mask off soon, and they just stop pretending like they give a shit, right? And we just start getting articles about how, like, no, we're a superior race. Like, we're superior to you, right? We're rich, therefore we're better. Right? I hope that we finally just get into that period where finally they're just willing to tell you the truth about their positions. That they don't care if you die. They don't care if you're in poverty. Like, this that's what's so insulting about this article. It's so clear that they don't give a shit about you. It's so clear that they do not care. That our suffering and our rejection and our displacement are curiosities to them. Something for them to be like, wow, what a mystery. Huh, what? I don't understand. I thought that they would love being enslaved by us. Oh well. Yeah, Klaus Schwab said that they would own nothing and be happy, but they're not happy at all. Oh, I wonder why. Well, time to raise their taxes and bomb Palestine some more. Like, bruh. And the only solution that we've got is war. Like, it's the only solution we've got for anything is just do war. And we can't win along those lines. Like, we haven't been winning this whole time along those lines. What makes us think we're gonna win? Like, and then win what? What exactly is it that we're winning in the first place? Like, what is just so hard about the very basic idea that everybody should just have food and shelter, everybody should just have access to basic needs as a default in their society, everybody should have access to a good education, everybody should have access to healthcare, everybody should have access. Like, what is so fucking difficult about that? What is so hard for people to grab a hold of? And it's this, like, gleefulness. It's this joyfulness by which we've grabbed hold of our decline. And the just, like, willingness to engage in overwhelming stupidity. Just this willingness to actually, like, be morons and be stupid. Ugh. The West is cooked. Good to see you, Dragon Fruit. It does get overwhelming that this system won't allow for the common good anymore. Not only is it not allowing for the common good, right? It's actively working against the common good. And then releasing articles like this, being all confused about it. Like, that's the craziest part, is that they're pretending to be confused about this. We wrapped saran wrap around his head and he stopped breathing. What happened? Theories abound. Well, we pulled out a gun and we shot him in the face and he stopped moving. What do you think? Theories abound. Yeah, we dropped a guy off a cliff and when he hit the ground, he shattered into 1,000 pieces. What happened? Theories abound. Like that's what this is sounding like. Like, that's what this sounds like to me. Like, that's why I'm so aghast by it. It's just like, we took out a knife and chopped off a guy's finger and he screamed and told us that he hated us. What? Why? Theories abound. Like, it's just this delusion, this detachment, this insanity that has clearly taken hold of our society. Ben, good to see you. Ben wants to change the subject. And you know what? Let's change the subject. I've already talked about this a little bit, Ben, but what the hell? Thoughts on Trump getting convicted? He's going to pay a fine, and it actually plays into his narrative. I've always thought this about these convictions that people have been seeking and, like, the Democrats have been pounding on and all this. Like, so Trump is going to say, the deep state came after me, but they weren't able to get me, and so I am running in order to continue to drain the swamp, right? They're constantly gunning for me. They stole the last election from me because they're too afraid of me, but with your help, I can become the president again, and then we can begin the process of draining the swamp, right? Like, the Trump supporters look at this conviction as the deep state going after Donald Trump for fighting the good fight. So it completely plays into his narrative. It's completely, it's not going to hurt him, right? It's not going to hurt him. That the people who are on Trump's side, it's only going to dig them in even more. It's not going to turn people away, right? People are going to be more in favor of Donald Trump. It's going to give Donald Trump more ammunition. It's going to make his case stronger, not weaker, right? Not weaker. And one of the big things that is going to happen is that the Democrats are going to try to be like, oh, look, Donald Trump, he's a crook. Right? He had to pay these fines. Look at him. He's a criminal. Right? And Donald Trump is going to be like, we're all criminals, baby. Look at what you did. Look at this thing over here. At least I admit it. And everybody's going to go, oh, shit, that's right. Oh, shit, that's absolutely right. And why? And how do we know he's going to do that? Because he's done that before. Right? Like when Hillary tried to peg him for his taxes, right? He outright said, that makes me smart. It makes me smart that I manipulated the tax system. And if you wanted to change it, you had 20 years to do so, and you didn't. So he's going to say exactly the same kind of shit, and it's going to work. Right? People are going to respect him for it. Because people actually respect an honest crook. Like, if everybody's a criminal, it's the one that stands up and says, yeah. Like, at the end of a game of Survivor, right? You watch the end of games of Survivor, and they're sitting there at the end, and it's the people who are like, yes, I backstabbed you. This is the reason why I backstabbed you. It was important for me to backstab you. I had to do it. And if somebody comes at them and says, I felt offended that you did that, it's the people who look back at them and say, you're just mad that I got you before you got me, that win that game and get respect. Because Donald Trump is just standing in front of everybody being like, this is the fucking game. This is the game, right? I'm playing it better than these guys. I'm winning, and I'm not going to bullshit you about how I'm playing the game. This is it. And Americans are looking at him and being like, great, yeah, vote Trump. And so I think that this situation is actually going to backfire on the people who are actually pursuing this with this idea that, like, this will sink them. We'll finally get them. No, you won't. No, you won't. Donald Trump is leading in all of the swing states. All of the swing states, Donald Trump is leading. Right? So in the only places that actually matter in the presidential election, he's leading. And those numbers are not going to go down for him. If anything, this is going to make those numbers go up. Yep, be like Tony Montana and go, yeah, so what? So what? There is polling evidence he will lose support by being convicted. Oh, okay. I would actually like to see that, Ben. Like, here, actually, let's take a look. I don't know. Will Donald Trump lose support from this conviction? Yeah, ABC News 2 hours ago. It's like a political Monopoly game in real life. Trump may lose some support, but the drop could be temporary. And let's be real clear when we're talking about this. There isn't actually certainty in this, right? Like, so I have my position. ABC's going to have its position. I'm just trying to call it how I see it. Scandals have swirled around former President Donald Trump since his first presidential campaign. Guilty of all counts. He's officially a convicted felon. Yeah, great. Could that fact cut through all the other headlines and be a game changer? At first glance, there is some evidence that polls from this conviction will meaningfully erode Trump's support. An April survey from CNN found that while 76% of Trump supporters said they would support Trump regardless, 24% said they might reconsider. So that's hardly overwhelming, but 24% saying they might reconsider. And a May poll from Emerson College found that 25% of voters said a guilty verdict in New York would make them less likely to vote for Trump. So there is a small minority of Trump supporters that would reconsider their position. But that said, given how close these elections can be, like, Trump lost the election to Biden by 12,000 votes in Georgia. Like, that's thin. That's really, really thin. On average, Trump went by leading by 1 percentage point in these polls without considering the conviction, by tailing by 6 points with it. So, Ledger, standard, if he's convicted, it goes Democrat, right? That's, but I don't think that New York is actually, like, it's the swing states that matter, right? It's the swing states that really matter. But Democrats would be wise not to get too excited about these numbers. Take another look. 24% of Trump supporters said they might reconsider their vote. That's not the same as will definitely change their vote. Now, that's basically what another poll from ABC found. They asked Trump supporters what they would do if Trump was convicted. But they provided options for both reconsider and no longer support. 16% said they would reconsider supporting Trump, but only 4% said they would no longer support him. And then 80% said they would continue to support him. So I think that there is credible evidence to show that it could erode his support. But it's very thin, but at the same time, the elections themselves are decided along very thin margins, right? So these very thin margins with these very thin lines, with these very thin kind of positions, so it's a wash. What's the concluding paragraph? Even if most Trump defectors only switch to undecided and eventually return to the fold, that doesn't mean the conviction will have zero effect on the race. That average 1 point gain for Biden isn't nothing. That's actually true. In a close race, it could mean the difference between winning and losing. But it's also important not to overstate the conviction's impact. If the hush money trial ends up determining the presidential race, it will likely be because the campaign was a game of inches anyway. Yeah, you know what, man? Rare insight from ABC. I love how we can go from like when it comes to calling these elections, the mainstream media is like razor tight and actually thinks about evidence and facts. But when it comes to like poor people, we made it so poor people can't eat, well, but they're upset. Theories abound. Like, it's just really incredible to see where the priorities are in the mainstream media. Ugh. It's the disrespect. That's what it is. It's the disrespect. Like, it is extremely obvious what's happened to us. It's extremely, extremely obvious. And to pretend as though it is not happening, or that we're confused by it, is so fucking disrespectful. It's so fucking disrespectful. It's an insult to our intelligence. It's clear that they're playing dumb. Like, like what do they think we are, children? They think we're babies? That they can extract $3 trillion out of the economy and then just be like, whoa, what? Huh? Like, where is it? I've got something here. No. Come on. I had it. It doesn't matter anymore. It's too late. It doesn't matter. I think I might have even gotten rid of it. Look, you can't buy up the housing market. You can't buy up the housing market and destroy the society and then actually say to us, oh, what's going on? What's going on? We can't jack up the rent and then say to us, oh, what's going on? Yeah, there it is. Like, 44% of all single-family home purchases were made by private equity firms in 2023. Like, we've known this since January. Like, Like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we actually doing here? Why are we allowing these guys to stand in front of us and pretend like these things are not happening? Like, and so to circle back around, to try to get it back into the place that I was originally talking about, this is these guys giving their credibility away. That the system no longer has credibility, and here is evidence for it. Like, these guys are either utterly unintelligent and completely detached and have no idea what they're talking about or what they're doing, or they are just playing dumb. And in either case, it means they have no credibility left. Like, what do you fucking think is going on? Dude, I'm so fucking upset. I'm really, really upset. I can feel it. I can feel how upset I am. Which sucks, because, like, I was having a pretty good day. I actually got my Twitch affiliate thing going on, which is really nice. Good opportunity to say, like, share, subscribe. Right? Hit those bells, hit those whistles, like the thing, right? Consider donating to my Patreon. If you are a Patreon subscriber, consider upping your donation by even $1 would help. Thanks. I appreciate it. Big thanks. Big shout out to my Patreons. Big shout out to my Patrons. Thank you so much for doing it. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for supporting me. I really appreciate it. I'm very, very grateful. I'm extremely grateful that things are picking up and things are happening, and more as time goes by, I feel more and more confident in what I'm doing and more hopeful that this is actually going to work out. And I just need to keep doing it. And your support means everything to me in that journey. So thank you so much. I just didn't think it would be this stupid. You know what I mean? Like, I just really didn't think we were going to be reading articles of, like, oh, everybody's so upset. What's going on? Theories abound. Theories abound. I think theories abound is just going to become, like, my new, like, oh, man, we killed a guy and his parents were upset by it. Why? Theories abound. Like, it's such a stupid thing. It's such a stupid thing to say. Okay, I gotta move on from this. I do. I feel like I've completely stalled because it's just so, like, moving on to the empire discrediting itself in front of all of us. Donald Trump wildly suggested he would have bombed Russia and China in furious rant. Donators at the event were reportedly surprised by the remark from Donald Trump, who has previously offered glowing praise for Russian despot. Love it. Vladimir Putin. Donald Trump raised eyebrows and suggested he would have bombed Russia in response to its invasion of Ukraine and responded militarily if China invaded Taiwan on his watch. According to the Washington Post, which reported the comments, his alleged remarks at a recent fundraiser surprised some of the donors. Trump's former ambassador to the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, James Gilmore, told reporters in Taiwan earlier this month that the GOP presumptive nominee is not an isolationist and is often, as he is often characterized, and believes he will be supportive of Taiwan when he becomes president. China claims Taiwan as its own territory, which we have said for decades, since the 60s, under Nixon. Nixon outright said, Taiwan is yours, China. That was the deal, right? That was the deal, that Taiwan would be part of China. Like, Taiwan was removed from the UN. Taiwan is not recognized by any international body anywhere as being an independent state. Nobody thinks that Taiwan is an independent state. Taiwan is part of China. It's only these fucking psychos who are walking around being like, man, I don't understand why everybody thinks the economy's doing so bad while they're working 3 jobs and can't pay the rent. China claims Taiwan as its own territory and has long threatened an invasion of the country. You mean its own province? Like its own, like Taiwan is China. Like, it's its own place. Despite stern warnings from the U.S. and other allies. Like, it's just so It's just so fucking stupid. Dude, like, I am still hung up on that guy yesterday that came in about the Uyghur genocide thing with the stupidity. And it was just like, it's just this overwhelming willingness to believe stupid people. This overwhelming willingness to believe liars. Like, once you understand that somebody is a liar, like, and is going to lie to you, and is going to systematically lie to you, you can't believe anything they say. Right? Like, doesn't that seem pretty straightforward, pretty obvious? That if somebody shows you that they're a liar and that they're willing to lie and betray people to get what they want, you shouldn't trust them. Right? It's like why you shouldn't trust Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg showed everybody that he will betray people for his own wealth and power. Right? That if Mark Zuckerberg says something, you should probably be skeptical of it. If Mark Zuckerberg wants to get into business with you, you might want to consider that. Yeah, XD, if they believe liars, perhaps they are liars themselves. I mean, there's always that, right? Like, why do Nazis go along with other Nazis? Because they're Nazis, right? So, but it's frustrating, right? It's frustrating, and I want to do better as a commentator. I want to be able to confront these people who come in and are clearly disinterested in evidence, who are clearly disinterested, and I just want to be able to speak with them with patience, and I want to be able, but like, once somebody shows you that they're not willing to respond to evidence, or that they don't care about evidence, like once you see that somebody's a flat earther, once you understand that, oh, this is flat earth brain, that we're not actually interested in evidence, we're not actually interested in an argument, we're not actually interested in any of that. Once they show you that that's the case, it's over. Right? All you can say is, oh, you're not responding to evidence. Okay, have a good day. Right? Like, I just didn't think there would be so goddamn many of them. I just didn't think that, like, every other person I spoke to would literally be like, the earth is flat. Like, I just didn't think that every other person I talked to would be like, oh, you want everybody to have health care? How are you going to pay for that? Well, there's this massive extraction policy going on, and we're paying all our taxes to, like, murder children in Palestine. It's just like beyond the pale that there are people who are like this, and that there's actually, like, a lot of them, and that, like, the most popular and most successful commentators are actually, like, boobs, like Alex Jones or Stephen Bonnell or Vosh, right? Ian, whatever his fucking name is. These guys that just, like, do not care about evidence in their decision making at all. And like, when the flat earthers showed up, we should have, we laughed at it. Everybody laughed at it. Everybody was like, what? Ha ha ha. And, like, there were, like, little documentaries about it as a phenomenon, and everybody being like, flat earthers, hoo hoo hoo. We should have taken that shit really seriously. We should have taken that shit really, 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 really seriously, dude. 'Cause, like, holy fuck. Because, like, once you can believe something like that, there's nothing you won't believe. You'll believe anything. You'll believe anything you're told. And that's a huge problem. Like, that should actually be escalated to, like, top 2 problem. Right? Are you a psychopath should be 1. And then right below that is, do you respond to evidence? Like, ugh. I'm sorry, guys, man. I feel like I'm letting you down today. I just feel like the wind just got taken out of my sails. I just feel like the wind just got taken out of my sails on this one. Like, that what I am going to be doing as we go into the future is trying to convince people who will not be convinced by evidence that their society is in decline. Like, as the society decays and as people like move in with their parents, have 4 roommates, work 2 jobs, like as the thing falls into a free fall collapse, there's going to be powerful people with huge platforms that are trying to convince you that everything is fine. It's just so stupid. It's just so stupid. And when you are ruled, when you're ruled by people who refuse to acknowledge reality and refuse to connect to evidence, then they'll make extremely stupid decisions. And the decisions that they make are going to have major consequences that are going to shoot them in the foot and are going to cause major problems for themselves because they're not making decisions based on evidence. They're just following their gut and calling it common knowledge. And it's just commonly understood. Everybody understands that there's a Uyghur genocide, right? It's just commonly understood. Everybody knows it. It's just the truth. Everybody says so. And then when you dig into who this everybody is, it's all just the CIA. It's just the fucking CIA spreading articles into establishment papers the way that they do and the way they have. And we're all just supposed to uncritically believe it and just be like, that's normal. Yeah, and all the while more and more plastic will be pumped into our reproductive organs. Yeah. You got plastic in your balls. You got plastic in the balls. Ring bells all through the halls, 'cause you got plastic in your balls. Congratulations, everybody. You have plastic in your balls. That's nice. What a nice idea. What a nice thought, eh? And like, we have evidence to show that the state is aware of its own decay, right? We have evidence to show that these people are not completely daft, dim-witted idiots. So it's evidence that it's evidence towards the idea that there is a, that they are just playing dumb, right? Which is Cop City. And the cop cities that exist, right? The evidence that they are just playing dumb is that they are literally militarizing their own nations with the expectation that it's going to fall and collapse. Loaf, how you doing? I'm sensing a new Canadian commie album on the way. Testicle Plastic. It'll be like instead of Heart of Iron, it'll be Balls of Plastic. It'll all be the same kind of pictures and iconography. Atlanta police surveil people opposing Cop City. There's this constant stalking feeling. That's a normal thing, right? It's completely normal that citizens would be against a policy of the state and that the state would then turn around and harass those citizens with surveillance, right? Atlanta police have been carrying out around-the-clock surveillance in several neighborhoods for months on people and houses linked to opposition against the police training center colloquially. I gotta figure out how to say this word. Colloquially. 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 Colloquially known as Cop City. The surveillance in Georgia has included following people in cars, blasting sirens outside bedroom windows, and shining headlights into houses at night, The Guardian has learned. Exhale, how you doing? While no arrests have been made, residents say they're at a loss as to what legal protections of privacy and freedom from harassment are available to them. Chata Spikes, the Atlanta police spokesperson, did not respond to requests for comments. The Atlanta police spokesperson's name is Chata Spikes. What are you? You're like a mini boss in like a Mario game? Or like a Pokemon character? Prepare to be defeated by Chata Spikes. Right, and they've got like bracelets with spikes around them and like a neck of spikes. They got a mohawk of spikes. Right, they're really leaning into the whole spike persona. Chata Spikes will show you. Let's get to the point. The ongoing action started soon after the 8th of February, pre-dawn. SWAT-style raid on 3 Atlanta houses, in which Atlanta police and agents from the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives sought evidence relating to arson of construction and police equipment. Police have since established themselves in 4 neighborhoods, centering on about 12 houses, including those that were previously raided, with marked and unmarked cars parked near them, driving slowly by and leaving when approached by residents. Social movement historian Dan Berger said this low-tech type of surveillance and related behavior, blasting sirens and flashing lights and following people, has precedence, dating to at least the civil rights era. He called the actions naked intimidation with plausible deniability attached to it. You know, the thing that the Nazis do, the thing that fascists do all the time. Berger added that a common strategy of police work is, when a movement reaches a point of threat, the powers that be begin actively trying to scare them out of existence, showing them that they know where they live, who they hang out with. You know, like fucking fascists would. The Cop City Training Center is being built on a 171-acre footprint in a forest southeast of Atlanta. Opposition has come from a wide range of local and national supporters and is centered on concerns such as unchecked police militarization and clearing forests in an area of climate crisis. Atlanta police say the center is needed for world-class training, right? In the American sense, world-class means, let's take a look at the IDF. The IDF is a world-class organization. One resident of a Lakewood neighborhood house raided on the 8th of February described being in a car with another person several days afterward. Different vehicles followed them for 4.5 hours as they drove out of city limits into Gwinnett country suburbs. When they stopped in a traffic drive-through, a Gwinnett police officer pulled them over and gave them a ticket for having the car's license plate in the back window and not on the bumper. The Guardian spoke to the driver in that incident, as well as half a dozen other residents of different Atlanta neighborhoods, and a DeKalb County neighborhood experienced increased Atlanta police presence in recent months. All of them spoke on the condition of anonymity or used assumed names out of safety concerns. The same Lakewood resident who was passenger in the following car was stirred from bed one morning in March at 3:30 a.m. when the police car blasted its siren for about 10 seconds. "I'm not a lawyer," he said, "but it eventually reaches the point of harassment. How do you tell cops they've reached the threshold?" Andrew Ferguson, a lawyer, law professor at the American University Washington College of Law, an expert on police surveillance, privacy, and civil rights, explained how this behavior can happen. Well, you see, everybody, when you empower Nazis, generally speaking, courts have given police the power to investigate crimes, he said. The problem is, abuse and harassment are usually harder to define. And there aren't great external laws to say you can't do this. So basically this professor is saying there's no laws, right? What have I been saying the whole time? There's no laws in America. There's no laws in America, right? When you empower Nazis, you get NATO. An incident earlier this week created another parallel to the civil rights movement. A resident of a house raided in February woke to a bright light outside his bedroom window next to the front door early last week at 3:15 a.m. He opened the door to see a lit road flare catching fire to the wooden railing next to steps leading to the house's wooden porch. He ran into the house, filled a bucket with water, and doused the flames. It's unclear who left the flare on the porch. I'm already paranoid, he said, but there's a difference between police surveillance and trying to burn your house down. A lawyer recommended a lawyer recommended filing a police report. But what if it's a state actor? Who protects us then? This is what's going on in Georgia, and this is what's like the United States, what they're doing in Gaza, that's their plan for you. You understand? Like, cop cities, this is their strategy. This is their plan. This is what they're doing. Right? They're creating internal settlements. Cop cities are internal settlements where they have a class of citizen called a cop, and steadily those settlements will expand their territory and take over. Right? Sound familiar? Exhale writes, did you by chance talk about the Taiwan claims of China meddling in votes with AI? Yeah, dude, I did that right away. This article was hysteria at the highest possible level. Like, just absolutely hysterical. Like, we're supposed to be afraid of China because it's making cartoons and talking to us. And our electoral system is so pathetic and weak that it'll be destroyed by China talking to us. Right? Like the threat isn't China like taking over the electoral system. The threat isn't China using like cyber security in order to overwhelm our systems and make it so that we can't communicate with one another or something. The threat is literally, oh my God, you guys, China's gonna talk to us. So much for your free speech, right? So much for your free speech warriors, right? Good speech beats bad speech, though, I thought. I thought that good speech beats bad speech. Like, articles like this have come about now because the empire is aware that it's lost the PR battle. That the Palestinian struggle and what's going on in Israel and Rafah and what's going on with this genocide have really discredited the empire. And they're scrambling now, trying to regain credibility, but they can't. They can't regain the credibility that they've lost. And so now they are going in, and so now they're going in for new strategies. And one of the big strategies that they're doing is playing dumb. That's what I'm coming down to with this article, right? I read an article, why are people so down about the economy? Theories abound. And the only way I can describe this article is either they're so fucking stupid that they're untrustworthy, or they're playing dumb. And more I'm seeing that they're just playing dumb. That they're aware of what they're doing. They're aware of what's happening. They're just playing dumb. And they're not talking about, like literally they're saying out loud in front of everybody that, oh, but the economy's doing so well, it's just vibes. For real. That's essentially a quote from this article. So, and like for whatever reason, this realization has really taken the wind out of my sails. I feel really like, it's because I'm dealing with the fact that they're insulting my intelligence. That's what it is. That, no, we're no longer going to get even an attempt from the system of power to think or act credibly. We're just going to get these guys playing dumb. And they're just going to be like, no, who could possibly know what's happening? Who could possibly... Whoa, well, theories abound. Theories abound is the new, like, I know what's going on, but I'm playing dumb. Oh, man, I pulled out a gun and I shot that guy in the face and he died. What could have possibly happened? Theories abound. It's just so fucking frustrating. You know, I try to have like a kind of a sense of levity, because I think that's going to be important as we go through this collectively together. Which, again, thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing me to be the voice that you listen to during this period of time. Thank you for allowing me to be the narrator of the apocalypse. And I do try to have kind of a sense, a wry sense of detachment, I suppose. A sense of, oh, well, we're all going to die anyway, so we're all just kind of passive observers. That we need to get organized locally, and we need to fight back against this, obviously, but that we shouldn't take it so seriously. Life's not that serious. We're all temporary beings. That we should spend more time trying to enjoy ourselves, and we should spend more time trying to love one another, and we should spend more time trying to just enjoy the environment that we're in, and less time in this kind of state of worry and the state of decay and the state of despair. But I'm really captured in this moment of just like, things could be so much better. I literally just read an article about how China is curing diabetes. Right? We could be doing incredible things. Staggeringly incredible things. We could be building a high-speed rail system across the country. Right now. We could be doing that. We could be building a rail system that's so fast and so effective and so efficient that I could take a rail from Toronto to New York, and it would be done in less than an hour. The journey would take less than an hour. I could go to Montreal, it would take a half hour. Like, people could literally get jobs in cities they don't live in. That's how fast the commute would be. It would be just as fast for me to go to another city than it would be for me to go to the job that I currently work in the city that I live in. Like, we could be doing that. We could be strengthening our healthcare systems. We could be strengthening our education systems. We could be strengthening our media systems. We could be funding the arts. We could be saying to people, hey, do you want to pursue artistry? Here's some grants for that. Oh, hey, we're going to create a facility for people to actually put this art in and to do this art. Oh, hey, we've got all of these empty houses. We should house the homeless. We should have people live in the houses instead of on the street. We could be shifting our vision away from this absurdist idea of collecting pieces of paper that we ourselves are responsible for printing, and focus instead on how to build a better place for the new generation to come and live. We could all grab each other's hands and say collectively all together at once, we are not going to live forever. We are not immortal beings. We are not going to be here for much longer, no matter what happens. So the best thing for us to do is ensure that the next group of people who come behind us, the people who don't even exist yet, come into a world where we've created infrastructure and created systems so that they can live in stability and they can live in peace with one another, and they can and they can struggle forward to greater and greater ideas and greater initiatives. That we could be exploring space. We could be exploring the bottom of the ocean. We could be learning new things about not just ourselves, but our environment. We could try to talk to the creatures that live amongst us. We could try to find out how they live and why they do the things that they do. For God's sakes, we could just try to make each other smile. We could just try to make each other have just like little flickering moments of happiness and joy, and we could be honest with one another about the fact that sure, we're all marching towards our deaths, but it's not for nothing. That our journey is just one small piece of a larger mosaic, and that we are here to pass the baton from our fathers and mothers to our daughters and our sons, and to continue the journey of evolution and the journey of human growth and the journey of humanity together collectively. We could be doing all of that. And it wouldn't be that difficult. It wouldn't be that difficult. We could even just be trying to do it. We could even be making the attempt to do it. I would feel so much better about my part of this journey of our society and our, if you want to call it, civilization. I would feel so much better if we were even trying to confront the problems that are in front of us. If we were even trying to look at the issue of climate change square in the face. If we were even trying to look at the issue of homelessness square in the face. If we were even trying to look at the inequality issues straight in the face. I would feel better if we were trying and failing than what we're doing now, which is sacrificing everything. Sacrificing everything we have, and everything we are, and everything we're doing to get access to a currency that we ourselves are responsible for printing. We're a complete and total joke. We're a complete and total joke. That at least the empires of yore, the people of yore, had a concept of moving forward and trying to achieve something, if only for their own race. that there was at least this concept of like, oh, developing. Let's develop the civilization. Let's develop the culture. Let's develop these things. That even cultures that were using chattel slavery understood that they should try to develop themselves. and not because of a profit motive, but because it's good to develop yourself. It's good to develop your civilization. It's good to invent something. It's good. That it's innate and natural for people to want to participate in a community and in an environment. And instead, we've got to put up with these fucking debate bros. We got to put up with people who like, let's debate, bro. No, I'm not going to acknowledge your facts or evidence or any point you have. No, I'm just going to talk over you. This is discourse, free speech. We absolutely, no doubt whatsoever, we absolutely deserve this decline. And do you know why we deserve it? Because we could just simply not do it. You know how we could not do the decline? Instead of funding genocides and endless wars, we could fund literally anything else. Literally anything else. Like, that is how lost we are. That we are taking the productive force of our people and we are handing it to arms dealers so that they can just drop bombs on innocent people for the sake of doing it, near as I can tell. So we're literally just flushing our productive capacity down the toilet for no gain and for nothing. That in 200, 300, 400 years, this whole situation in Gaza, the whole situation in Ukraine, will be a footnote of history. And no one will care. That we could build literally anything. We could do literally anything. And we're choosing this. This grinding, steady decline into obsolescence. This grinding, steady decline into evolutionary dead ends. Where nature itself is in full rebellion. The birth rate is at 1.3. We are committing a collective evolutionary suicide. That capitalism is an evolutionary dead end. It's making it so that we can't even successfully reproduce anymore. That the generations that come behind this generation will actually be vastly smaller. Vastly smaller. Because we're so exhausted. We don't have time. We don't have the desire. And when we meet each other, where everybody's angry and frustrated and caught up in this illusion of money worship, in this belief of status that doesn't exist. And that when we reach the end of this journey, when all of us finally come to our old age and all of us finally reach that point where we're going to put our hand on the golden door and we're going to step from this plane of existence to the next, whatever that might be. That all we're going to be able to say in the wasteland that we've created for the dwindling minority of humans that still exist in this plane is, well, good luck. Well, I'm going to be able to say that I tried. In my own small ways and with my own small energy and with my own capability and with my own thought and idea and my heart and my soul. Good luck, I tried my best. But at least I tried. At least when I march towards my Creator, I'll be able to say to our sons and our daughters and our nieces and our nephews and the children we leave behind in the apocalypse, I tried. I'm sorry. I'm sorry we made a mess of it, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry that nobody gave a shit about you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that nobody else was trying, but I was trying. I did my best. And from here until the end of my life, I'm going to keep trying. And I hope and pray every single day that my Creator is going to look at me and he's going to say, I see you trying. I see you trying. And then he'll continue to bless me, as I've received many blessings. And those blessings will continue to grow and continue to spread in my life. And that like an echo, like a wave, like a ripple through water, my effort and the effort of the people around me and the effort of others who care and who are trying their best will grow and spread and wipe out before it the apathy and the callousness and the falseness of these psychotic capitalists before us. And all that'll be left behind is a group of people who are saying, we do care and we are trying. And we do believe. And we will always believe. And I will always believe. Because these capitalists are only men. And foolish ones at that. Oh. Dave writes, "You're like a radio show host for us." You know, Dave, that's so funny. Because that's essentially what people have always said to me. "Oh, wow, did anybody tell you you've got a really good voice for radio?" And I would always say the same thing back to them. "Oh, yeah, I'll just go get one of those radio jobs," right? They're all over the place. So I just thought to myself, maybe I'll just start my own radio station. Welcome to JON Radio, all John, all the time. Joe writes, "The most frustrating thing about it, the wasted potential." Thank you guys for being here, by the way. Thank you for listening to me do that. I don't know where that came from. Really. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for tolerating me. Thank you, Just Me. Peanut Butter Beatrice, it's so infuriating how we always get in our own way. It really is sad. Absolutely. Absolutely. Generation Y Me, good to see you, my man. Mikhail, good to see you. No, hey, whoa, no, John. It's for the international rules-based order and morals. Yeah, exactly. Ben writes, "Capitalists have influenced our culture to dissuade quote-unquote laziness. Laziness, in a way, is a virtue, I think. By being lazy, you reject the dominant capitalist value system." Well, near as I can tell, laziness means you're not doing the thing that I want you to do. If you don't do the thing that I want you to do, you're lazy. So it doesn't matter if that thing that I want you to do is to destroy your own family and your own future, right? Just these kids are lazy. They don't want to destroy themselves for us, for money. Mikhail says, "I wonder what I missed that got you so emotional." Yeah, I'm not 100% sure either, you know, Mikhail. I think it was just, I read this article, you know, and I didn't think it was going to hit me so much. But it's that sense that as the decline occurs, the wealthy and the powerful are going to play dumb. They're going to play dumb. That's what they're going to do. And just this overwhelming sense of as we get into this, they're going to disrespect us so thoroughly that even if we gather in force and begin to take serious revolutionary action against them, they're going to play dumb. They're going to pretend like they don't know what's going on. And that's frustrating. It's frustrating to understand and to recognize and to realize that they're going to play dumb. And they're going to... Yeah, they're going to pretend like they don't understand. And it's going to waste everybody's time. Because there's going to be a whole group of people that are going to be like, well, let's explain it to them. We don't need to explain anything to these people. They understand fully. They're playing dumb. Yeah, I dropped out of radio when I went to college. That industry tries to kill radicalism just like the TV industry. Yeah, of course. Like, there's a whole vetting process, right? Like, there's a whole process of vetting people out of these industries and vetting people out. Which is why it's so important for you guys to actually hit like and share and subscribe and hit the bells and hit the whistles, right? Consider donating, right? Because Lord knows the system of capital is never going to, right? Lord knows the system of capital is never going to reward me for doing this, right? Lord knows the system of capital is never going to say, oh, hey, you're trying really hard. You got a good voice. What a unique and interesting perspective, right? Why don't we get you on KY8 radio, right? It's not going to happen, right? Just not going to happen. So the only way I'm actually going to be able to do this is with your independent support. And eventually, right, they'll start to come for people like me. And they'll shut down websites, and they'll shut down people, and they'll ban people, and they'll be another McCarthyite period. And it won't just be people like me. It'll be people like Hassan. It'll be people who are much bigger than I am. And the internet will just get... I actually think they're trying to do something like that right now with AI and bots. That the whole dead internet theory that's going around, I think there's something to it. I think there's something to it. To say that let's make the internet unusable. Let's make it so that you don't know what's real and what's fake on the internet anymore. Let's create so much AI-generated material and have so many bots interacting with that AI-generated material that people won't be able to distinguish between what's real and what's fake anymore. And so they'll just stop using it. Well, if people stop using the internet, what's left? Legacy media, right? The newspapers, the television. And that becomes their reality again. So that when they publish an article like, oh my God, there's a genocide in China, well, no one's going to be able to stand up and counter it. There'll be nowhere to go. There'll be nobody to talk to. And so for entire generations of people will be like, yeah, like that genocide that happened in China. Which we've seen. Right? The Tiananmen Square massacre is a perfect example of it. The Holodomor is a perfect example of this. Of how the gatekeeping from the corporate media and the legacy media creates these false, fake narratives. And an entire people just believe what they're told because there is no counter narrative. There is nobody who's trying to have the narrative. So I think there's something about this idea that they're trying to kill the internet. And they're trying to make it unusable. But of course, it's just another case of capitalism destroying itself. Because, like, China's not going to destroy its internet. Russia's not going to destroy its internet. These places look at the internet and think to themselves, What a great tool for our citizens to speak with one another and create consensuses and ideas with one another. But our elites have lost control of the narrative. They've lost their credibility. They know they can't regain it. They saw it happen with Israel. And they saw how fast it turned. And they know exactly why it turned. It turned because of the internet. If it hadn't been TikTok, it would be Facebook. If it hadn't been Facebook, it would be YouTube. If it hadn't been YouTube, it would have been BoobTuber. If it hadn't been BoobTuber, it would have been Pornhub. The problem isn't TikTok, it's the internet itself. So they need to destroy it. And they will. Or at least they'll try. It's like what the devil said in Milton Friedman's Paradise Lost. It's better to rule in hell than reign in heaven. Oh, sorry, it's better to rule in hell than serve in heaven. They would rather be the kings of an ash pile than equals in a paradise. Medicare over on Twitch says, I have diabetes. Good to know. Yeah, the Chinese very recently came out with a diabetes breakthrough as scientists hail miracle cure in world first. What they're doing is they're using stem cells to rejuvenate and create new pancreatic cells within the body, and those cells will then produce insulin, which that's what diabetes is. It's the body's inability to produce insulin. And they've had a successful trial with it. So in very short order, people who are suffering from diabetes may be able to just literally go to a doctor and get a shot. And then their diabetes will be gone. It'll be like and we'll look at something like diabetes the same way that we look at chickenpox. Like, chickenpox used to be a deadly disease that killed people. And now we're just like, you get it when you're a kid. Okay. It's not a big deal. Oh, you got a case of diabetes? Yeah, just get to the doctor. He'll clear that up for you. Just get a shot. Yeah, it's pretty normal, you know. My mom had some diabetes for a week or two. Better to be the tail of a lion than the head of a dog. Yeah, maybe your dad will live longer, right? Like, I feel like... And of course, we all know how the system of capital is going to respond to this. We all know and understand. Like, it's not going to be it's not going to... like, in most of the rest of the world and places where there are healthcare systems... You know, you'll be able to go get the shot. And even if there is, like, private systems or if they make you pay for it, it'll be like, you know, $2. Or like, let's go crazy, $20. Oh, you want your diabetes cured? It'll be $20. Thanks. And that's just like a copay, right? United States? Okay, cool, that'll be $5,050, please. Why? Because I want $5,000. That's why. This is like a cure that lets you keep smoking, though. That's fine. I don't care. Like, I genuinely don't. Like, if it means that one single person can get diabetes off their back, I don't give a shit. It's completely fine by me. I don't get caught in this, like, oh, well, if you do that, then that means people will do this, and then I'll do this. Yeah, okay, sure. I don't care. Like, I'll bite that bullet. Oh no. Oh no. It's always interesting to me how it's all like free speech and freedom and everybody should do what they want to do and everything's completely fine until it comes to somebody else's vices. Although if you think about it, curing diabetes will increase sugar consumption? Question mark? Yeah, again, cool. Like, I don't care. I just don't, man. Like, I just am like, I'm just not anti-vice, I think is what I'm trying to drive at, right? Like, I think people get very surprised by this. I think people expect me to have a very, like, puritanical worldview, right? Because I think that when people hear people moralizing, you know, when people hear that, oh, you've got principles, okay, so that must mean that you're very judgmental towards people's drug use. And I just am like, not. Like, I straight up am not. Like, aren't you worried about giving money to homeless people? They'll just spend it on drugs. Cool. I hope they do. Yeah, I hope those homeless people have a little flickering moment of enjoyment in their life. Cool. I'm fine with that. Like, what do you think I was going to spend that on? Like, what do you think? What you think when I drink a bottle of wine? You think when I smoke some marijuana, right? You think when I take some mushrooms, right? Well, I earned it, so it's fine, I guess. Like, yeah, I hope if we really cared about these people, we would provide housing to them, right? So, forgive me if I'm just trying to, you know, spread a little bit. Just a little tiny flickering moment of relief into a person's life. And I just feel like the false concern that comes out of people is just another way to say, don't help poor people. Like, yeah, no, I'm fine with it. It's totally fine. I just don't have this kind of sacred... Like, do what you like. It's your body. Do what you want with it. That's fine. I don't have, and I mean, incident like this, I feel like that's a consistent thought. Like, it's a consistent principle. It's your body. Do what you want with it. Right? And that flows into almost everything. Right? Drug use, tattoos, abortion, you want to replace your arm with a robot arm, right? Whatever you want to do to your body, it's your body. Do you do what you want with it, right? People don't own much in the world. People don't own much in the world. But if they have ownership over anything, it's their own body. It's their own being. So do what you like. And if somebody's going to judge you for the thing that you've done to your own body, well, that's their problem, isn't it? That's their problem. The tattoos one, I'm so glad has finally died off. That when I was a kid, it was like, oh, you got a tattoo? You're a reject from society. Now I look at people who have tattoos and I'm just like, what a blessing. What a blessing. You're deciding to spread art into the society. You're making your own skin a canvas for us to look at. What a beautiful thing. What a wonderful, lovely thing. And ultimately, who gives a shit what these people think? Like, what authority do they have to even offer their opinion in the first place, let alone have it taken seriously? Like, that's the real goddamn truth. Like, I don't know. We're living in a society that's eating itself to death. We don't have any teachers. We don't have any scholars. We don't have any priests. We don't have any rabbis. Like there's nobody who has any credibility in this society at all. And the people who cling on to their titles and try to lord it over you are the least credible of all. So when you live in a society where there's no credibility at all and nobody has any expertise or knowledge or the right to stand up and say anything about the nature of the society, and they're all publishing these articles where they all get to play dumb, where they're all just a bunch of goddamn morons on purpose for money that they print. You don't need to listen to a goddamn thing they say about any subject, let alone your own body. So just do what you want. Right? It's yours. And if they're going to be so arrogant to stand up and say that you're lesser than because of something you did to yourself, it's just more evidence of their own incredulity. You don't need to listen to these people. What do they have to offer you? Like, that's what's so astounding about this era. Like, the universities are not trying to regain their credibility. The political system is not trying to regain its credibility. The newspapers and the media are not trying to regain their credibility. The banks are not trying to regain their credibility. They're just managing the decline. And they're managing the decline by playing dumb. In the hopes that we'll all just act stupid. And be like, whoa, I guess, yeah, what is going on? Oh, who knows, you know? The fact that you have to work 3 jobs to pay your rent with 2 roommates, you know, it just doesn't factor. You know, your own lived experience doesn't matter. They're just hoping that you'll fall back into that pattern of gaslighting. Like they did to the millennials, by the way. Just get a job. Just walk in there and shake his hand. Look him in the eye and say you're a hard worker. Just get a job. What are you, lazy? Just get a job. Nobody wants to work anymore. Just get a job. Just gaslighting. Naked gaslighting. And they'll try it again. And they'll do it again. As long as it works. Right? They still publish articles talking about how good trickle-down economics is. They're still trying to convince people that their failed system that's obviously abandoned them is still fucking working. Mikhail writes, when you wake up and ask the vampire what he's doing, why do you feel so weak? The vampire says, what's a vampire? Yeah. Or that phrase, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing people he doesn't exist. Like the ruling class is ghoulish. And they're doing everything they can to try to convince you that they're on their that we're all in this together. So we're all in the same boat. Right? Which is what a fucking joke that is. We're all in the same boat. It's unbelievable. They're literally in like a big giant super mega yacht that's so big that it needs another giant mega yacht in order to service it. It's got helicopter pads. Like literally Jeff Bezos could shoot a rocket off at space on one of these things. The platform of it is so huge. We're all in the same boat, though. They'll scream at you on the like tiny little plank that's like just refuge. That's just like the rich will literally drive their mega yacht into your boat and smash it to pieces, leaving you adrift on the open seas, and then say we're all in this together and we're all in the same boat. I just wish they'd stop talking like they have credibility. That's really, I think, what it's come down to. I just wish that they would actually acknowledge and actually say out loud, yeah, we are wrong. We have been wrong. The way that we've been thinking about the world has been wrong. It's obvious that that's the case. We need new ideas and new theories. We need to agree on some kind of first principle that says something like food and shelter should be free. Or at least people should have access to food and shelter. These things should be easy to secure. It should be easy to get these things. There shouldn't be any anxiety about this. This should be like literally an afterthought in your life. But they're not going to do any of that. They're not going to do any of that. They're going to continue publishing these articles where they pretend like they don't know what's going on. Or outright where they try to convince us that everything's actually fine. Or that it's a you problem. And the collapses are just going to keep coming. They're just going to keep coming. And we're going to see wave after wave after wave after wave of just systemic collapse. Just leg after leg after leg of it. We're just going to go snap, snap, snap. And the whole thing is just going to start... Because eventually we just reach a point where people can no longer afford to buy the goods that are being produced. Like, the wage won't pay the rent. Like, right now the wage barely pays the rent. Well, soon the wage won't pay the rent. And we're just going to have to deal with just an ocean of people playing dumb. And I'm just going to have to say to these people, why are you playing dumb? Like, why are you acting stupid? Why are you pretending? Like, what is this act that you're putting on? It's so obviously phony and obviously fake. You cannot legitimately be this stupid. And I'm going to say this to people who have PhDs. I'm going to say this to people who are like sitting professors in universities. I'm going to say this to people who considered themselves very serious people. And I'm going to look at these people and I'm just going to be like, you guys are stupid. Or at least you're pretending to be. Why? Why are you continuously pretending to be this stupid? It's just so ridiculous that you think that you have credibility anymore. Why? What makes you think you have any credibility in the conversation any longer? Well, I'm sorry that this one was kind of a downer, honestly, guys. I don't know how it happened. You know? When intellectual abuse is rampant, the safest thing to be is dumb. Smart means sharp, means dangerous. Well, I also think, like, if you're playing dumb, right, then it's less likely that anyone's going to blame you, right? That it's like damage control at this point. Nobody wants to actually be blamed for any of this. You know, everybody wants to say, like, oh, you know, we were running on the theory. We were running on the theory of what we thought was good. Right? Meanwhile, their theory was literally extract as much wealth from the society as possible and abandon people as fast as possible. Yeah, always better to be negligent instead of nefarious. Yeah, absolutely. Plausible deniability, right? Plausible deniability. That's what white supremacists do with their dog whistles, right? Plausible deniability. Well, guys, we've reached the end of this one. Again, I am kind of sorry it went this way. Like, I try to keep things elevated a little bit and try to leave you with a message that you can carry into your life that has some kind of immediacy or hopefulness to it. Get to the beach. Yeah, have a good weekend. Get to the beach, go to a field, go watch a movie. Get out of your apartment. Give someone a hug. Tell someone you love them. Always remember, guys, each and every one of you is a quantum being walking around in quantum energy. These billionaires are spending hundreds of billions of dollars in the hopes you'll never realize it. You'll just stay the good little commodity they need you to be. Rebel. Revolt. Repent. Good luck. We're going to need it.